One time I let this guy take me out to dinner, and after we ordered our food, I go to check my phone. I'm on my phone for like 30 seconds. He got up and left. He didn't even say anything either. He just quietly got up and left.
You too.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it didn't turn red yet.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Tell me about yourself.
Okay, I'm Gabrielle.
Give each other a chance.
Yeah, let's give each other a chance. Let's. Okay, you want to do that? I do see you as a friend. No.
So the first girl, why should I pick you? Carmen.
Because I'm the baddest bitch alive. Period. I'm the epitome of beauty, honey. I'm wifey. I do vibe with you. I'm like, I would look cute next to you, do you not think?
The moment of truth, I gotta eliminate one of you. The girl I will be eliminating is Carmen. And the reason I'm eliminating you, Carmen, is you said you're the baddest girl in the UK, and I'm not even sure if you're the baddest in the room right now.
Imagine this. For 50 years, women told men out loud and on repeat that they were trash, toxic, unnecessary, replaceable, evil just for existing. They screamed it in classrooms, on talk shows, in courtrooms, across every social media, and in the streets. We don't need men. We are the table. The future is female. Men are defective. Men are predators. Men should shut up and step aside. And for 50 years, millions of men smiled politely, paid the bills anyway, kept providing, kept protecting, kept simping, kept believing that if they just worked harder, earned more, listened better, became better men, that one day women would finally see their value and love them back. And then, almost overnight, the simping stopped. The cash apps went silent. The dinner reservations disappeared. The hey big head texts at 2 a.m. went unanswered. The flowers weren't delivered. The rent didn't magically get paid by some orbiting dude anymore. And now, women across the planet are standing in the wreckage of the world they demanded, looking around with tears in their eyes, asking the most predictable question in human history: where have all the good men gone? Spoiler alert, ladies, we didn't go anywhere. We just finally listened to you. And if you stay until the very end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how deep this collapse goes, how irreversible it has already become, and why every single day that passes makes it even less likely that men are ever coming back. If you're new here, or you've been riding with me for a while, do me a solid right now. Smash that like button. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear this truth. Hit subscribe. And most importantly, click that notification bell and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We are building the largest, loudest, most unfiltered red pill community on this platform. And I refuse to let the algorithm bury this message. Also, if you want to actually protect the wealth you still have left and learn how to grow it in this collapsing economy, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. The only link you need is in the description. We teach you step by step how to buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, keep your money safe from inflation, banks, and women who think your wallet is community property. Click that link and start building real security today. And if these videos are hitting you in the chest like they should be, show some love and buy me a Red Bull. Link in the description. Every can keeps me caffeinated and angry enough to keep dropping these truth bombs without apology. Now let's get into it. The golden age of simping is dead, and the funeral was quiet because the only people who showed up to mourn it were women holding empty Cash App notifications. What we are watching in real time is the total and complete collapse of what I call the simp economy, an economic system that ran for decades on one single resource: male desperation. For years, women extracted time, attention, money, emotional labor, and peace of mind from men under the guise of dates, friendship, or just talking. They turned courtship into a pay-to-play job interview where the man had to show up with money, entertainment, and unconditional emotional support just to be considered for a position that usually never even opened. And for decades, men lined up, wallets open, hearts bleeding, hoping that if they just perform well enough, one day they'd finally be chosen. And then one day, the line just disappeared. Men woke up, looked at the price tag attached to female attention, looked at the misery waiting on the other side of that transaction, and collectively said, nah, I'm good. And when that happened, entire industries started collapsing overnight. In China, the collapse was so dramatic, it actually made international news. On Qixi Festival, China's version of Valentine's Day, men gave 0 gifts, 0 red envelopes on WeChat, 0 luxury bags, 0 jewelry, 0 flowers, 0 fancy dinners. An entire consumer holiday built 100% on male simping recorded almost no revenue. The jewelry market took an immediate hit. 5-star hotels sat empty. High-end restaurants that survived on 15% capacity. The message from Chinese men was crystal clear. We are done subsidizing your lifestyle. And once Chinese men proved it could be done, the blueprint went global faster than anybody expected. Here in the United States, the numbers are even more brutal. Dating apps are bleeding male users. Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all of them are publicly panicking because the one resource they need more than anything else, male attention, has vanished. Women are posting screenshots of their empty inboxes with captions like, "Is the app broken? No, queen. The app isn't broken. The men just finally read the terms of service and realized the product was defective." Restaurants that used to be packed on Friday and Saturday nights with couples are now filled with tables of single women staring at their phones, waiting for a man who is never going to walk through that door. Bars and nightclubs are closing left and right because the primary revenue driver has always been men buying overpriced drinks for women they have 0 chance of taking home. When that revenue stream dries up, the business dies. And it is dying right now in real time. You see this on social media every single day if you know where to look. You have 20 something, 30 something, even 40 something women crying on TikTok talking about, I can't afford groceries anymore, rent is due, inflation is killing me, and no man will even take me to dinner. The same women who 1 year earlier were posting videos bragging, I'm a boss babe, I don't need no man, high value women don't split the bill. My presence is the gift. Now they're in shambles because the presence only payment plan got canceled and nobody told them cash was still required in the real world. And the best part, men aren't even angry anymore. That's what's driving women insane. We're not raging, we're not begging, we're not negotiating, we're not lining up with self improvement copium talking about leveling up. So maybe one day we'll be good enough. We just walked away and found peace. We kept our money, we kept our time, we kept our sanity. We bought bigger TVs, better gaming setups, home gym equipment, crypto, index funds, motorcycles, whatever actually makes us happy. And for the first time in our lives, we're experiencing what actual peace feels like. No drama, no chaos, no walking on eggshells, no coming home to an attitude because she had a bad day at work, no surprise $800 shopping sprees on the credit card, just peace. And once a man tastes that peace, there is no price on earth you can put on it to make him trade it away again. Women never thought this day would come. They genuinely believed that because they controlled access to sex and reproduction, men would continue to negotiate with desperation forever. They thought male thirst was an infinite resource, like wind or solar, something they could tax indefinitely without ever running out. They were wrong. Men looked at the return on investment, looked at the risk-reward ratio, looked at divorce statistics, false accusation statistics, family court horror stories, and quietly decided that opting out entirely was the single best financial and emotional decision they could make. And millions of us made that decision at the same time. So now you have women screaming into their ring lights, where have all the good men gone? And the answer is simple. We're right where you told us to go. You told us you didn't need us. You told us the world would be better without us. You told us to leave you alone and never approach again. Congratulations, you won. We left. We're minding our own business. We're thriving. And you're learning the hard way that every single system you relied on to replace men, government, corporate jobs, boss babe, hustles, OnlyFans, student loan forgiveness promises, all of it was built on quicksand. The money printer can't print anymore. The state is broke. The corporations are laying off the diversity hires first. And the men you spent 50 years telling to disappear actually listened. Kevin Samuels, rest in power, used to say, "Ladies, winter is coming." Well, winter didn't come. Winter is here, and it's not seasonal. This is permanent climate change in the dating market. The era of men sacrificing everything to keep women comfortable while receiving nothing but contempt in return is over. The soft guy era has begun. Men are focusing on self care, wealth building, brotherhood, purpose, and peace. And women are discovering that when you remove male investment from the equation, surviving as a strong, independent woman suddenly requires actual strength and actual independence. Two things most of them never had to develop because there was always a man somewhere willing to carry the load. You spent decades weaponizing sex, turning dates into extortion rackets, treating male attention like a utility you were entitled to. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. And then acting shocked when the utility company finally cut the power because you refused to pay the bill. You told men, we can do it all by ourselves, so we let you. You told men, your money doesn't impress me, so we kept it. You told men, I don't need a man, so we believed you. And now the consequences are here, and they are brutal, and they are irreversible. Men are not coming back to save you from the world you created. We are not returning to the plantation. We are not re-enlisting in relationships where the only guaranteed outcome is misery, financial exploitation, and loss of freedom. We are done. And every day, more brothers wake up and join us. The movement only grows, the peace only deepens, the wealth only compounds, and women are left holding the bag they told us to put down 50 years ago. But we have to talk about the grief stages now because women are cycling through them in real time, and it's the most predictable script I've ever watched unfold. First came denial. This is just a phase. Men are just mad right now. They'll come crawling back once they get lonely. Then came anger. How dare men abandon us? This is a patriarchy. This is oppression. Men owe us protection and provision. Now we're deep into bargaining. Okay, fine. We'll split the bill 50-50th. We'll cook sometimes. We'll stop calling you toxic. Just please come back and take us on dates again. And every single day, we get closer to the final two stages, depression and acceptance. Except acceptance is never coming because the truth they refuse to say out loud is that men aren't mad. We're not hurt. We're not waiting for better terms. We're simply done. And that reality is so terrifying to them that they can't even process it. You see it in the comment sections everywhere. You see it in the tearful car videos. You see it in the panicked podcast where panels of women sit around asking each other, what do we do now? And the answer is always silence because deep down they already know there is nothing they can do. The leverage is gone. The thirst is gone. The desperation that powered the entire female economy for half a century has been surgically removed, and the patient not only survived the operation, he's healthier than he's ever been. Let me paint you a picture of what the average man's life looks like in 2025 compared to 2015. 10 years ago, he was working 50, 60, 70 hours a week to keep a girlfriend happy, who still complained he wasn't doing enough. He was eating out 4 nights a week, paying for 2 people while she posted Instagram stories about how blessed she was. He was sending $200 on Valentine's Day for flowers that died in 3 days. He was covering half the rent while she called it our apartment, but his name wasn't on the lease. He was walking on eggshells, hoping tonight wasn't the night She decided to blow up his phone over something he said in 2010 did in 2018. He was terrified of losing his job because losing his job meant losing her. He was one hey big head text away from throwing away years of progress because his self-esteem was tied to female validation. Now look at him today, same guy, same job or better, but now his money is his money, his time is his time. His peace is non-negotiable. He eats ribeyes. He cooked himself for $12 instead of $120 at some overpriced steakhouse where she took selfies and barely touched her plate. His Saturdays are spent at the gym, on the golf course, riding his motorcycle, or just sleeping in without someone nagging him about plans. His phone is quiet. His bank account is growing. His stress levels are the lowest they've ever been. He's not lonely. He's free. And the craziest part, he's not special. There are tens of millions of us living this reality right now. We found out that solitude isn't the same as loneliness. And once you experience the difference, there is no going back to the chaos just because someone finally says, I'll do better. Women never understood that men don't leave relationships because we hate women. We leave because we finally loving ourselves more than we fear being alone became the rational choice. And once that switch flips, it doesn't flip back. You can't unsee the matrix. You can't unlearn the patterns. You can't go back to paying $300 for a first date that ends with, I'm not ready for a relationship right now, after you've already experienced keeping that $300 and waking up the next morning with zero drama. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze. And the squeeze now costs more than ever, while the juice has been watered down to almost nothing. And please don't come in my comments with that tired, not all women line. Nobody said all women. We're talking about the prevailing cultural script that the majority participated in, benefited from, and defended. The script that said a man's value is tied to his ability to provide, protect, and perform, while a woman's value is tied to existing. The script that said men should be grateful for the privilege of paying for everything while being told they're trash. The script that turned courtship into a one-sided wealth transfer and called it empowerment. That script is dead, and the women who lived by it are now discovering what happens when the credits finally stop rolling. Let's talk about the industries that are collapsing right now because male money walked out the door. Nail salons in major cities are down 40 to 60% in revenue. Hair extensions, the market is in free fall. Luxury handbag resellers are begging for inventory because women aren't getting gifted Birkins anymore and can't afford them on their own salaries. High-end cosmetic dentistry practices that used to survive on smile makeover packages paid for by boyfriends are closing locations. Brunch restaurants that charge $29 for avocado toast and bottomless mimosas are boarding up windows because tables of women refuse to pay their own tab when there's no man to stick it to. The wedding industry is bracing for the worst decade in its history because men aren't proposing and women can't afford the Instagram weddings without a man footing 80% of the bill. Entire economies built on female consumption, funded by male provision, are imploding in slow motion, and nobody in mainstream media wants to say the quiet part out loud. Women never had the money. They had access to men who had the money. And that access has been revoked. Now they're trying every trick in the book to get it back. They're making TikToks saying, I'll cook and clean if you just provide. They're posting traditional wife content showing them making sandwiches and lingerie. They're writing articles about how they're willing to submit if men will just step up and lead again. They're flooding dating apps with looking for something serious in their bios after spending years saying no hookups while doing exactly that with the top 5% of men. They're even trying shame. Real men provide, real men protect, cowards walk away. But shame only works when the target still cares what you think. And brother, we don't. We really, really don't. The most delicious irony of all is that the same women who spent years saying, I don't need a man, are now learning what life actually looks like when men take them at their word. Rent doesn't care about your girl boss affirmations. Inflation doesn't negotiate because you're a queen. The electric company doesn't accept my presence is the payment as a valid form of currency. And the men you trained for decades to believe they were disposable are now treating you exactly the way you taught them they should be treated, like an optional expense that can be cut from the budget without affecting quality of life. And before anyone says, this is just bitter incel talk, let me stop you. This isn't coming from men who couldn't get women. This is coming from men who could, did, and then realized we were happier without. This is coming from former simps who woke up, from guys who used to drop $500 on bottle service to impress girls who wouldn't even give them a real phone number, from husbands who paid for everything while their wives disrespected them daily, from boyfriends who got cheated on and still paid the rent the next month. We've seen both sides. We know exactly what we're walking away from, and we're still walking. And the black pill isn't hate, it's clarity, it's pattern recognition after decades of being lied to. It's understanding that female nature, unchecked by male investment and accountability, trends toward chaos, ingratitude, and extraction. It's understanding that the love most men experienced wasn't love, it was access to resources disguised as affection. It's understanding that peace is priceless and chaos is expensive. And once you price it out, the decision becomes the easiest one you'll ever make. Women are now learning that freedom isn't free. Independence isn't free. Living my truth comes with a bill. And when there's no man around to pick up the tab, they're learning that having standards is easy when someone else is paying to meet them. They're learning that being high value only matters if someone values you enough to invest. And right now, across the planet, millions of men have looked at the price tag attached to modern women and quietly said, hard pass. The grief will continue. The bargaining will get more desperate. The shaming will get louder. The tears will flow harder. And none of it will matter because the men who walked away aren't coming back to negotiate new terms. We're not interested in your I'll do better speeches. We're not moved by your crying videos. We're not impressed by your sudden interest in cooking and submission. We've seen the pattern. We know the script. We know how this movie ends. And we're choosing a different film entirely. The soft guy era isn't a coping mechanism. It's the rational response to a market that became hostile to male investment. It's millions of men choosing peace over chaos, freedom over obligation, wealth over stress, brotherhood over beg friendship, and solitude over simulated love. And every single day, another 1,000 men join us. Another 1,000 men taste that peace for the first time. Another 1,000 men look at their growing bank accounts, their quiet homes, their drama-free phones, and realize they will never go back to the way things were. Winter isn't coming, ladies. Winter is here, and we're the ones staying warm. Let me take you on a little tour of the parallel societies men are building right now while women are still crying into their ring lights. Because this is the part nobody in mainstream media wants to talk about. While women are busy making Bring Men Back content that gets 12 likes and 4,000 views, men are quietly, systematically, and ruthlessly constructing entirely new economies, communities, and lifestyles that have zero space for female chaos. And the speed at which this is happening should terrify every woman who still thinks this is just a phase. Picture this, private men's clubs are popping up in every major city. Not the old cigar smoke country clubs your grandfather belonged to. These are modern compounds, are invitation only, no social media allowed inside, no phones at the table, and most importantly, zero women permitted past the front door unless they are staff who sign ironclad NDAs. Inside these places, you have high-earning men trading crypto tips, real estate deals, business partnerships, private gym facilities with saunas, cold plunges, hyperbaric chambers, steak dinners cooked by private chefs, cigar lounges, and poker tables where six-figure pots change hands every weekend. These aren't nightclubs hoping to sell bottle service to women. These are brotherhood compounds designed for men to build wealth and peace together. And the waiting lists are years long. At the same time, home gyms have become the new status symbol. The Peloton and yoga mat era is over. Men are dropping 5, 10, 20 grand, building garage and basement gyms that rival commercial facilities. Rogue racks, competition benches, cable machines, full cardio suites. And once a man has that, why would he ever step foot in a commercial gym again where he has to worry about being secretly recorded, accused of staring, or listening to TikTok music on blast? He doesn't. He trains in peace, shirtless, blasting whatever playlist he wants at 2 a.m. if he feels like it, and never once has to deal with a woman in leggings complaining that he breathed too loud near the dumbbell rack. Coffee? Men are buying commercial grade espresso machines and grinding fresh beans at home. Food? Traeger grills, uni pizza ovens, sous vide setups, and chest freezers full of ribeyes from local ranchers. Why would any man pay $22 for a latte and a muffin at some Instagram cafe filled with women taking selfies when he can make better coffee at home for pennies and never have to hear, "Can you watch my stuff?" from a stranger who treats him like free security? Cars? Men are restoring classic muscle cars, buying motorcycles, overlanding rigs, building project cars in their garages with their boys on weekends, activities that actually bring joy instead of activities designed to impress women who are never going to choose them anyway. Travel? Men are doing guys only trips to Thailand, Colombia, Dubai, Eastern Europe, places where the currency is strong and the women still smile at men without demanding a Venmo request first. And when they come home, they don't post about it on social media because they don't need female validation anymore. They just live. Crypto, index funds, real estate syndications, private masterminds where men pool money and buy apartment buildings together, skipping the banks entirely. Men are creating barter networks. You fix my truck, I'll tune up your motorcycle. You help me frame my garage gym, I'll teach you how to trade options. Entire decentralized economies are forming that women have zero access to because trust is the currency and women destroyed the trust years ago. And the most savage part, when a woman needs something from one of these networks, an electrician, a mechanic, a contractor, a loan, a favor, she has to go through a man who still deals with women. And that man now charges her a double, triple, whatever the market will bear, because there is no more, "I'll help her out because she's cute" discount. The discount died with the simp. Now it's pure market rate, cash up front, no favors, no flirting, no future promises. You want your sink fixed? That's $800 today, or enjoy the drip. This is ruthless compliance on a civilizational scale. Women spent decades telling men, "We don't need you. We can do it ourselves." So men said, "Cool, do it yourself." Women said, "Men harass us at the gym." So men left the gym and built better ones at home. Women said, "Stop approaching us in public." So men stopped approaching, and now women are begging to be approached. Women said, "Your money doesn't impress us." So men kept their money, and now women can't pay rent. Every single demand women made is being complied with to the letter, and the result is female civilization collapsing under its own weight while male civilization quietly thrives in the shadows. And don't think this is just a Western phenomenon. This is a global. In Japan, they call it Soshokudanshi, herbivore men, men who have zero interest in dating, marriage, or children. In South Korea, it's the 4B movement being met with the 5N movement. No dating, no marriage, no children, no relationships, and now no interaction. In China, men are calling it Tang Ping, lying flat, refusing to participate in a society that treats them like disposable utilities. In Latin America, men are going abroad and never coming back. In Eastern Europe, men are building lives in countries where women still value masculinity instead of punishing it. The message is the same everywhere. If my own society doesn't want me, I'll build a new one that does. Or I'll leave and find one that already exists. Women are now discovering that when men actually follow their instructions, the world they get isn't the utopia they were promised. It's a dystopia where they have to work full-time jobs they hate, come home to empty apartments, eat overpriced takeout alone, scroll TikTok until 3 a.m., wondering why they're still single, and then cry themselves to sleep because the high-value men they were holding out for are on a beach in Thailand with women who smile when they walk into a room. The passport bro phenomenon isn't about running from strong, independent women. It's about running toward peace. It's about men realizing that your peace is worth more than your passport, your citizenship, your language, your culture, everything. Men are voting with their feet, their wallets, and their attention spans. And And the countries that treat men like human beings are winning the talent war, while the countries that treat men like villains are wondering why their birth rates are collapsing and tax revenue is drying up. Because here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Societies don't run on female labor. They never have. Societies run on male labor, male innovation, male risk taking, male sacrifice. When you spend 50 years telling half the population they are defective and disposable, eventually that half stops showing up. And when men stop showing up, bridges don't get built, power grids don't get maintained, buildings don't go up, trucks stop delivering food, and the entire system grinds to a halt. But this time, men aren't going on strike and begging to be let back in. We're building parallel systems that don't need the old one at all. Women are now learning the difference between rights and privileges. They were told they had the right to education, careers, independence, casual relationships, everything men have. What they weren't told is that most of those things were privileges built on the backs of men who were willing to sacrifice comfort, health, and lifespan to make them possible. When men withdraw that sacrifice, the privileges evaporate, and women are left holding rights that don't pay the electric bill. Student loan debt, that's a privilege tax. OnlyFans, that's a desperation tax. Corporate jobs with no mentorship because men stopped helping women at work, that's a trust tax. Empty dating apps, that's an attention tax. Skyrocketing rent with no boyfriend to split it, that's an independence tax. And the bill is coming due, I'm all at once. The most brutal black pill of all is this: women were never oppressed by patriarchy, they were protected by it. Men built a world that shielded women from the harsh realities of survival. And then women demanded to be let out of that protection and into the arena where men have always lived. Now they're in the arena, getting punched in the face by reality and screaming for men to come save them. But the men are in the stands, eating steak and watching the show because we already took our beating for centuries. It's your turn now. And no, this isn't misogyny. This is pattern recognition. This is millions of men looking at the same data points, the same divorce rates, the same false accusation horror stories, the same "where are all the good men" tears after years of "we don't need men" anthems, and coming to the same conclusion. The risk is not worth the reward. The cost is too high. The peace is too sweet. And once a man experiences 1 year of peace after a lifetime of chaos, there is no offer on earth that can pull him back into the fire. The soft guy era isn't soft in the weak sense, it's soft in the luxury sense. Soft sheets, soft landing, soft life built on hard boundaries. Men are soft with themselves for the first time ever. We're gentle with our time, gentle with our money, gentle with our peace, and absolutely granite when it comes to protecting it from anyone who threatens it, especially women who spent years telling us our peace didn't matter. Women are now facing a future where the state that promised to replace men is broke. The jobs that promised to empower them are being replaced by AI. The degrees that promised security left them in debt. The casual relationships that promised freedom left them unable to pair bond. And the men they were told were disposable turned out to be the foundation everything else was built on. And that foundation just walked away and started building somewhere else. By 2030, the projections say 45 and 50% of women aged 25 and 44 will be single and childless. When you add in single mothers who can't get a second date, that number climbs past 70%. That's not a dating market. That's a societal collapse. And the craziest part, men are going to be fine. Well, more than fine. Men are going to thrive because minimalism is male nature. You already give a man a paid off truck, a grilling setup, a 75-inch TV, a gym access, a few close brothers, and enough money to cover his actual needs, and he's happier than he's ever been in his life. Women need community, validation, novelty, drama, social media likes, constant newness. Men need peace, protein, and purpose. And right now, men have all three in abundance, while women are discovering that living my best life feels a lot like dying alone with cats and credit card debt. The grief will continue, the tears will flow, the bargaining will get more desperate, and none of it will matter because men have moved on to a new operating system and the old one isn't compatible anymore. Let's talk about the biggest lie that was ever sold to men in the modern era, the lie that women would be happy once they were free. For 50 straight years, we were told that if women just had college degrees, corporate jobs, birth control freedom, no fault divorce, government assistance, and the ability to sleep with whoever they wanted, whenever they wanted, that they would finally be fulfilled. We were told that removing male authority, male provision, and male protection would unlock some hidden level of female joy that had been suppressed by the patriarchy for centuries. Society moved heaven and earth to make that experiment happen. Trillions of dollars, thousands of new laws, entire cultural revolutions in education, employment, and family structure, all to give women the one thing they said they wanted more than anything else: total independence from men. And now in 2025, we have the final results of that experiment. And the results are in: women are more miserable than they have ever been in recorded history. Clinical depression rates among young women have quadrupled since 2010. Anxiety disorders are through the roof. Prescription medication usage is at all-time highs. Self-reported happiness scores for women under 40 have been in free fall for 15 straight years, while men's happiness scores in the same age group are going the opposite direction for the first time ever. Women are drinking more, sleeping less, gaining weight at record speed, reporting record levels of loneliness, and filling therapist offices with the same sentence on repeat: I have everything I was supposed to want, so why do I feel so empty? Because everything you were sold was a lie. Independence didn't make you happy. It made you exhausted. Freedom didn't make you strong. It made you fragile. Choice didn't make you powerful. It made you paralyzed. And the one thing you were told was oppressive, male provision, male leadership, male protection, turns out to have been the very thing keeping the entire system from collapsing into the despair you're swimming in right now. You wanted to be the CEO. So now you work 60 hours a week for a boss who doesn't care if you live or die. Come home to an empty apartment, microwave a $14 salad, realize you forgot to buy toilet paper again, and then scroll TikTok until 3 a.m. watching other women pretend they're happy doing the exact same thing. You wanted to live like a man and have casual relationships with no strings. So now you have a body count higher than most men from the 1970s and the inability to feel anything when a decent guy actually tries to love you. You wanted to wait until your 30s to settle down because you only live once. So now you're 34 with frozen eggs that probably won't work, a mountain of student debt, and a dating pool full of men who look at your Instagram and swipe left before you can even say, I'm different. You were told the fairy tale was oppressive. You burned the fairy tale to the ground. And now you're standing in the ashes wearing a pantsuit, wondering why you're colder than you've ever been in your life. And the worst part, you still can't say it out loud. You still can't admit that the experiment failed. Because to admit that would mean admitting that men were right about something. And the one thing female pride cannot survive is being wrong at the scale. So instead, you double down. You make another TikTok about how men ain't it while secretly crying in your car because your last situationship ghosted you after you paid for his Uber Eats for 6 months. You write another think piece about how the bar is in hell while refusing to look in the mirror and see that the bar isn't low. The buyers just stop showing up to a store with defective merchandise and sky high prices. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates where we are right now. There's a viral clip going around of a woman in her late 20s, cute girl, decent job, standing in her kitchen recording herself with tears streaming down her face. She's holding an iPad showing her bank account with $47 in it 2 days before rent is due. And she's sobbing to the camera. I did everything right. I got the degree. I got the corporate job. I'm a boss babe. I'm a strong, independent woman. So why can't I afford to live? And why won't any man help me? And the comments are brutal because men have stopped caring. The top comment, 112,000 likes, simply says, "You told us you didn't need us. We believed you. Good luck." That's not hate, that's accountability. That's the sound of a generation of men who finally stopped arguing and started agreeing. You said you didn't need us, so we left. You said you could do it on your own, so we let you. You said a man's money doesn't impress you, so we kept it. And now the bill is due and the credit card is maxed out and the customer service line has been disconnected. Here's the part women still don't understand. Men didn't walk away because we lost a negotiation. We walked away because we won the only negotiation that ever mattered, the negotiation with ourselves about what we're willing to tolerate. And the answer turned out to be a lot less than we ever thought possible. We discovered that our peace, our money, our time, our mental health, and our future were worth infinitely more than whatever scraps of conditional affection were being offered in exchange for a lifetime of servitude. And once that math became clear, the decision wasn't hard. It wasn't even emotional. It was just obvious. You keep waiting for men to get lonely. You keep waiting for us to miss the chaos. You keep waiting for biology to kick in and force us back into the provider role because men need sex and men want legacy. But you forgot one critical detail. Men have been lonely inside relationships for decades. We've been lonely while sitting right next to you on the couch while you scrolled your phone ignoring us. We've been lonely while paying for vacations you posted about but barely spoke to us on. We've been lonely while working overtime to fund lifestyles you said were bare minimum. Solitude isn't loneliness when solitude comes with peace. And peace is something most men never even knew existed until we experienced it without you. You thought male desire was infinite. You thought you could raise the price forever because the demand would never drop. You treated male attention like oil in the 1970s, an endless resource you could tax into oblivion because they'll always need it. But desire isn't infinite. It's not even elastic. It's finite. It's rational. And wait, when the cost becomes too high, demand doesn't whine. It disappears. And that's exactly what happened. And then the greatest supply shock in human history just hit the dating market. Millions of men simultaneously realized they don't need what you're selling at the price you're asking, and the shelf is now empty. And now you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube with "I'll cook" content and "I'm willing to be a trad wife" videos and "men just need to man up" speeches. But nobody's buying it because we've seen the behind the scenes footage. We know the script. We know that the second a man invests again, the mask comes off and the demands come back. The disrespect returns. The expectations skyrocket and the peace disappears. We're not falling for the limited time offer. We've read the reviews. 1 star. Would not recommend. The passport bro thing isn't even the worst part for Western women. The worst part is that foreign women aren't winning, not because they're submissive doormats. They're winning because they're pleasant. That's it. They smile when a man walks into a room. They say thank you when you pay for dinner. They don't call you toxic for opening a door. They don't make you audition for a relationship with PowerPoint presentations about your salary. They treat masculinity like a feature, not a bug. And when a man experiences being treated like a human being for the first time in his adult life, he doesn't miss the old country. He sends postcards that say, "Wish you were never here." Every day another man lands in Medellin or Manila or Warsaw, meets a 24-year-old who cooks dinner, laughs at his jokes, doesn't have an OnlyFans, and looks at him like he's a prize instead of a project, and he sends a voice note back to his boys that simply says, "Bro, it's over. I'm never coming home." And within a week, 3 more of his friends are booking flights. That's not a trend. That's a migration. That's millions of men voting with their passports because their home countries voted them out of society first. And still, Western women refuse to compete. They refuse to lower the price. They refuse to drop the entitlement. They refuse to offer anything that would actually make a man want to invest again. Instead, they make TikToks about how foreign women are pick-me's and real men stay and fix the problem. But here's the secret. We're not trying to fix you. We're trying to survive you. There's a difference. And you keep saying, where are all the good men to get, as if we vanished? We didn't vanish. We upgraded. We moved to a better market. We found peace in places that don't punish us for existing. And the men who stayed behind aren't good men who are hiding. They're the ones who woke up and realized that being a good man in a society that hates you is the fastest way to die, broke, stressed, and alone anyway. The soft guy era isn't about weakness, it's about strength through subtraction. It's about removing the cancer to save the patient. It's about cutting out the drama, the chaos, the financial hemorrhage, the emotional terrorism, and discovering that what's left behind is pure muscle. Men are leaner, richer, calmer, healthier, and happier than we've ever been. Not in spite of walking away, but because of it. And the craziest part, we're just getting started. We haven't even begun to flex yet. The parallel economies are in their infancy. The private brotherhood networks are still forming. The wealth transfer from female consumption to male investment is barely underway. The great wealth gap that's coming isn't between men and women in the way feminists think. It's between men who walked away early and men who are still holding out hope that women will change. One group is compounding wealth, peace, and freedom at a rate never seen before. The other group is still paying for OnlyFans subscriptions and first dates that end with, "You're such a good friend." Guess which group is winning? By 2030, the phrase strong, independent woman will be the most ironic joke on the planet. Because the strongest and most independent people in the Western world will be childless, debt-free men with paid-off houses, six-pack abs, full heads of hair, or shaved with confidence, crypto portfolios, home gyms, and zero drama. And the most fragile, dependent people will be 38-year-old cat moms with $87K in student loans, wondering why Zoloft stopped working. The experiment is over. The data is in. The control group, men who stayed in the old system, is miserable. The treatment group, men who walked away, is thriving. And there are no more test subjects willing to volunteer for the control group. The study has been canceled due to lack of participants. Women are now learning that freedom without structure is just chaos. Rights without responsibility is just entitlement. And independence without someone to share it with is just expensive loneliness. And the bill for all three just came due at the same time. Let's talk about the moment the mask completely slipped. The moment women accidentally told on themselves so loudly that even the last remaining simps couldn't pretend they didn't hear it. It happened in waves. But the loudest wave hit in 2024 when the bear versus man hypothetical went viral. Millions of women were asked, if you were alone in the woods, would you rather run into a random bear or a random man? And the overwhelming majority chose the bear. They made TikToks, podcasts, talk show segments, Instagram carousels, all proudly declaring that they would literally rather take their chances with a 700-pound wild predator than an unknown human male. They laughed about it. They doubled down. They said men were scarier than literal apex predators. They said the bear wouldn't judge them, wouldn't harass them, wouldn't follow them home. They said all men were potential threats and no man could ever be trusted. And then something magical happened. Men heard them, really heard them. Not the surface level, haha girl power version, the actual words. And instead of arguing, instead of begging, instead of posting blue pill essays about how not all men simply nodded and said, bet. You would rather take your chances with a bear? Cool. Let the bear pay your rent. Let the bear take you to dinner. Let the bear fix your car when it breaks down at 2 a.m. Let the bear listen to you about your toxic job. Let the bear protect you from the consequences of your own decisions. Let the bear be your emotional support animal when inflation eats your paycheck and your boss babe job lays you off. We're good. We'll be over here grilling ribeyes and watching the game. That single hypothetical broke the last remaining spell. Because for 50 years, men had been told, we don't hate you, we're just afraid of you. And we kept showing up anyway, trying to prove we weren't a threat. We took the classes, we read the books, we changed our language, we walked on eggshells, we paid for therapy, we became allies. And the second women were given a safe, socially acceptable way to admit out loud that they view literally every man as a monster. The social contract snapped like a dry twig. Men didn't get angry. We got free. You told us you see us as predators? Perfect. Predators don't pay for dates. Predators don't simp. Predators don't care about your feelings. Predators take what they want and leave the rest. So we took our time, our money, our attention, our protection, our emotional labor, and we left the rest. And suddenly women are shocked, Pikachu face their way into discovering that being afraid of men doesn't pay the bills when the men you're afraid of stop showing up to work for free. That's when the panic really set in. Because up until that moment, women still believed they could shame men into coming back. They thought the where are all the good men tears would work like they always had. They thought the threat of loneliness would eventually force men to negotiate. But once men realized that women genuinely view us as subhuman threats, not even worthy of basic trust, the shame circuit got severed. You can't shame a man who already knows you think he's a monster. The only logical move left is to become the monster you accused him of being, not violently, but indifferently. Cold, calculating, self preserving indifference. And indifference is the one thing female nature cannot survive. You see, female power in the modern world was never raw power. It was borrowed power. It was power borrowed against future male labor, future male sacrifice, future male desperation. Women ruled through proxy. They ruled by controlling access to affection, sex, validation, and social status. And men paid whatever price was asked because we were raised to believe that was the only way to be worthy of love. But once men stopped believing we needed female approval to be whole, the proxy empire collapsed overnight. And women are now learning that ruling through proxy only works when the actual power source is still willing to show up and generate electricity. Cut the power at the source, and the entire grid goes dark. That's where we are right now. The grid is dark. And women are wandering around with dead phones screaming into the void, wondering why no one is coming to fix it. And the fixes they're attempting are hilarious if they weren't so pathetic. They're trying religion now. Sudden submission content from women who spent the last 10 years calling Christianity patriarchal oppression. They're trying trad cosplay, apron selfies, and sourdough starters from the same girls who have no hookups in their Tinder bio, but 47 bodies. They're trying negging, calling men broke and dusty, hoping it triggers provider instincts that died in 2021. They're trying legislation, pushing for government to force men to date, marry, and provide through tax policy and social credit threats. They're trying guilt. You're causing the birth rate collapse. You're destroying society. Real men step up. None of it is working because you can't guilt a man who already knows you think he's a bear. You can't shame a man who has tasted peace. You can't threaten a man who has nothing left to lose because he already lost the illusion that you ever cared. The birth rate collapse isn't a bug, it's the feature. Men looked at the deal on the table. Marriage 1.0 with a 50-70% failure rate initiated by women. Family courts that treat men like ATMs with weekend visitation. Paternity fraud celebrated as empowerment. And a culture that calls fatherhood slavery. And we said, hard pass. Why would any rational man sign up to create hostages he can't protect and fund a retirement plan for a woman who can replace him with the state tomorrow? The juice isn't just not worth the squeeze. There is no juice. It's all rind and bitterness now. And women are finally starting to feel the consequences of weaponizing fatherhood. They're hitting 35, 38, 42, realizing the I'll just freeze my eggs and have kids later plan was a $100,000 scam sold to them by clinics that knew the success rates were garbage. They're realizing the I'll just be a single mom by choice fantasy dies the first time the baby has colic at 3 a.m. and there's no man there to take the night shift. They're realizing the government will pay for it dream is collapsing because the government is broke and the men who used to pay the taxes that funded their lifestyle are no longer working overtime to impress women who hate them. The state isn't your husband. The state isn't your father. The state is a parasitic middleman that extracts wealth from men under threat of violence and then gives you a tiny fraction back in the form of crumbs you're supposed to be grateful for. And now that men are keeping the wealth, the state has no crumbs left to hand out. The welfare state was always funded by male desperation. Remove the desperation and the funding dries up. Simple math. That's why you're seeing articles now with headlines like The End of Men and Who Will Pay for Women's Retirement? And the childcare crisis is worse than we thought. Translation, who is going to subsidize our lifestyle now that men stopped caring? The answer is no one. The answer is you. The answer is figure it out the way men always had to. And the coping and seething, because the answer is you, is the background music of 2025. Here's a prediction that will be 100% accurate by 2030. The wealth gap between single men and single women will be the largest in recorded history, and it won't be because men are oppressing women. It'll be because men kept the fruits of their labor and women spent theirs on rent, Uber Eats, therapy, Stanley Cups, and trying to flex on Instagram with lifestyles they couldn't actually afford. Men will own the homes, the investment accounts, the classic cars, the land, the crypto, the businesses. Women will own student debt, credit card debt, designer bags they're trying to resell at 60% loss, and cats. And the cats won't even cuddle them because cats can smell desperation. And still the coping will continue. Still the articles will blame toxic masculinity and the manosphere and Andrew Tate and misogyny. Still, the blue pill simps will write long Reddit essays about how if we just communicate better, women will come around. Still, the pick-me trad thoughts will flood YouTube with day in the life of a submissive wife content while hiding their OnlyFans links. And none of it will matter, because the men who matter have already left the building. The men who are still listening are the ones who haven't woken up yet, and their wake-up call is coming. It always does. The red pill isn't a phase, it's a permanent upgrade to the operating system. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you experience peace, you can't go back to chaos for a warm body and some conditional sex twice a month if you're lucky. Once you realize your money in your pocket feels better than her hand in yours while she's calculating how much she's going to spend it, the game is over forever. Women are now entering the find out stage of the biggest find out in human history. They spent half a century telling men to leave, and we finally did. They spent half a century saying they didn't need us, and we believed them. They spent half a century building a world where men are the enemy, and now they're shocked that the enemy stopped showing up to fund their empire. And the empire is collapsing, not because men attacked it, but because we simply stopped maintaining it. Every day, another man wakes up, cancels the date he had planned, pockets the $300 he was going to spend, and experiences a level of relief he didn't know was possible. Every day, another man deletes the dating apps, blocks the talking stage girls, and wonders why he didn't do it sooner. Every day, another man looks at his bank account growing instead of shrinking and realizes this is what winning actually feels like. And every day, another woman makes another TikTok asking, where have all the good men gone? While refusing to look in the one place they actually are, living better lives without you. The soft guy era is the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And it's not from women to men. It's from chaos to peace, from stress to freedom, from desperation to abundance, from slavery to sovereignty. And the craziest part, we didn't have to fight for it. We just had to stop showing up to our own oppression. So keep making the videos, keep crying on camera, keep bargaining, keep coping, keep seething, keep telling yourselves this is just a phase. We'll be over here grilling steaks, lifting weights, stacking crypto, building brotherhoods, traveling the world, and sleeping like babies at night. Because for the first time in our lives, we have something women will never understand: peace that no one can take from us. And peace, brothers, is priceless. Let's talk about the single most expensive lie ever sold to women in the last 100 years. The lie that you can have it all. You can have the corner office and the babies. You can have the master's degree and the marriage. You can ride the corporate ladder and the dating carousel at the same time, and everything will line up perfectly at 35 when you finally decide to settle. You can sleep with the top 5% of men in your 20s, post thirst traps on Instagram, collect orbiters like Pokemon cards, and then flip a switch in your mid 30s and lock down a man who has the same value as the guys you gave it up to for free when you were 22. You were told biology was a social construct, that fertility is a vibe, that men would wait forever, that love is unconditional, that your past is nobody's business, that the wall is a myth invented by insecure men. And now millions of women are slamming into that wall face first at 90 miles an hour. And the airbags didn't deploy because the airbags were men who walked away. The data is brutal and it's public. By age 30, female fertility has already dropped 50% from its peak. Hard times are here. Jobs are disappearing fast. And if you lose yours, you could be homeless in a few months or even a few weeks. But it doesn't have to be that way. Check out Angry's Creator Academy and learn how to build your own online business using YouTube to grow it. And get the free creator blueprint when you sign up. The link's in description below. Go check it out now. By 35, it's in free fall. By 40, the monthly chance of natural conception is under 5%. Frozen eggs, the live birth rate per egg retrieved in your late 30s is so low that the clinics won't even put it on the brochure anymore because it would scare customers away. Yet women in their 20s are still being told, freeze your eggs, focus on your career, live your hot girl 20s, the right man will wait. Who is supposed to wait? The high value man you want doesn't wait. He's 6'2", makes 200K plus, lifts, has options, and he's getting snapped up by a 24-year-old who doesn't have a podcast about healing her inner child. Or he's opting out entirely and keeping his money, his peace, and his seed to himself. Either way, he's not sitting on ice for a decade while you find yourself on vacation in Bali with girls who spell women with 3 X's. You were sold the biggest time scam in history. They told you your 20s were for fun. Your 30s were for building. Your 40s were for harvesting. What they didn't tell you is that the harvest moon only rises once. And if you spend the planting season doing body shots off Chad in Mykonos, there is no harvest. There is just debt, cats, and a vibrator that needs new batteries every 6 weeks. And the worst part, you were encouraged to do it. Your mothers, your professors, your bosses, your favorite influencers, the entire culture stood up and cheered while you sprinted toward the cliff. They called it empowerment. They called it freedom. They called it breaking the glass ceiling. And now you're 36. The ceiling is still there. The floor is lava, and the fire escape has a sign on it that says, "Men walking away, do not enter." Meanwhile, the men you rejected at 25 because he makes less than me, or he's only 5'10" inches, or his Instagram wasn't popping, are now 35, debt-free, jacked, own rental properties, have a 750 credit score, and won't even look at a woman over 30 unless she's bringing a dowry and a time machine. And even then, he's probably going to say no because he's seen the pattern. He knows what happens when you give a modern Western woman access to your resources. He's watched the horror stories. He's read the divorce statistics. He's seen the "I don't need a man, but where are all the good men" pipeline and in action. And he decided peace is cheaper than a wedding ring. You keep saying men are intimidated by my success. No, queen, men are repelled by your entitlement. Success isn't the problem. Arrogance is, debt is. The attitude that your degree makes you a prize while you bring nothing to the table but expectations and emotional baggages. The belief that you deserve a man who earns more, looks better, works harder, and tolerates more than you ever offered any man in your 20s is. Success would be sexy if it came with humility. Instead, it came with a podcast microphone and a Venmo in the bio. Let's run the numbers real quick because women hate math until the math hates them back. Average female college graduate in the United States finishes school at 22, 23 with $30K, $50K in student debt. She spends her 20s making $50, $70K a year in a corporate job she hates, paying $2,000, $3,000 a month in rent for an apartment she doesn't own, blowing the rest on brunch, vacations, clothes, and Uber. By age 33, she has less than $5K in savings, $40K in debt, and a resume that says senior brand manager, but zero assets that actually produce income. The man she ignored at 25 because he wasn't ambitious enough spent those same 10 years learning a trade or building a business or investing in crypto or index funds. By 33, he owns a paid off house, has 6 figures in investments, drives a paid off truck, and has zero debt. He's in the best shape of his life because he has time to lift. He sleeps 8 hours a night because no one is blowing up his phone with drama. And when she slides into his DMs at 34 with, "Hey, big head, remember me?" he doesn't even open the message. He's too busy grilling steaks with the boys and planning a trip to Colombia where women still smile when a man says hello. That's not intimidation. That's standards. That's the free market working exactly the way feminists said they wanted it to work. Congratulations, you got the meritocracy you asked for. And the meritocracy looked at your resume and said, "We'll pass." And please spare me the "but I'm the exception" cope. Nobody is saying there aren't outliers. There are always outliers. The problem is outliers don't move the market. The market is moved by the median, and the median modern Western woman over 30 is broke, entitled, in debt, overweight, overmedicated, undersexed, and overopinionated. That's not a prize. That's a project. And men stopped volunteering for unpaid construction work. You were told have standards. You weren't told that standards are a luxury good paid for in youth, beauty, fertility, kindness, and humility. When those currencies expire, the standards become comedy. Telling a 38-year-old corporate girl with blue hair and a cat that she deserves a top-tier man is like telling a 1998 Nokia that it deserves to run iOS 19. The hardware can't support the software anymore, and nobody is going to downgrade their life to run your outdated operating system. The wall isn't a myth, it's biology with a marketing degree. And it's the best professor most men ever had. It taught us that time is the only non renewable resource. It taught us female youth and fertility are the only two objective currencies women bring to the table that men can't get anywhere else. It taught us peace is worth more than passion. It taught us a woman's past is the best predictor of our future. And once we learned those lessons, the tuition money, also known as dates, rent money, emotional labor, and wedding rings, stopped flowing. Now women are trying to rewrite the rules after the game already ended. They're trying to shame men for having standards by calling it lookism or heightism or walletism. But standards aren't hate. Standards are survival. When you spent your 20s treating average men like trash and giving the best years of your life to the top 5% who never committed, you forfeited the right to cry foul when those average men use their 30s to become the top 5% and decide you're no longer interested in the women who overlooked them. That's not revenge. That's compound interest. And the coping is reaching levels of delusion that should be studied by science. I bring peace from a woman with purple hair and a therapy dog. I'm a high value woman from a woman who can't cook and thinks therapy speak is a love language. I'm wife material from a woman whose Instagram is a thirst trap graveyard and has empath in her bio. Men are scared of my success from a woman who is one paycheck away from living in her car. Brothers, if you ever feel a flicker of doubt, if you ever feel the old programming trying to creep back in, just go scroll TikTok for 10 minutes. Watch the parade of delusion in 4K, watch the tears, watch the bargaining, watch the mental gymnastics, and then close the app knowing you made the greatest financial and emotional decision of your life by walking away. Because here's the secret nobody wants women to know: men don't hate you. We just don't care anymore. And indifference is worse than hate. Hate still gives you emotional real estate in our heads. Indifference evicts you completely. We don't wish you harm. We don't wish you well. We simply don't wish at all. You're background noise now. You're the default ringtone we muted years ago. The soft guy era isn't about punishing women. It's about rewarding ourselves. It's about taking the energy we used to waste, chasing, simping, providing, performing, and redirecting it into building lives so undeniable that even if a unicorn appeared tomorrow offering everything we ever wanted, we'd still say no because we've seen what comes after the yes. We've seen the pattern. We've read the script. We know how the movie ends, and we're choosing a different film. So keep freezing those eggs. Keep riding that corporate hamster wheel. Keep telling yourselves the right one will wait. Keep making those men are trash TikToks while secretly refreshing your Hinge likes at 2 a.m. Keep coping, seething, bargaining, and spiraling. We'll keep lifting, stacking, traveling, grilling, laughing, and sleeping like kings in houses we own. Driving cars we paid for, living lives so full of peace that your chaos can't even fit through the front door. The harvest moon is setting, the wall is undefeated, and the men who used to pray for a chance at your table are now the ones owning the restaurant, and we took your name off the reservation list permanently. Let's talk about the final boss that women never saw coming. The state that promised to replace men, turning out to be the most abusive husband in history. For 50 years, women were told, you don't need a man, you have the government. Big Daddy government will pay your bills, protect you, educate your kids, give you health care, and never ask you to cook or submit. They traded the provider in the House for the provider in Washington, and they cheered while they did it. They voted for every expansion of the welfare state, every new social program, every safety net that was supposedly going to make men obsolete. And now the money printer is smoking, the debt is unpayable, the trust funds are empty, and the state is looking at women the same way. An exhausted husband looks at a wife who just asked for another credit card after maxing out the last month with cold, tired contempt. The state never loved you. The state used you. It used you as a voting bloc to expand its own power. It used you to break the family so it could insert itself as the new father. It used you to destroy male authority so there would be no competition. It used your fear and your resentment to pass laws that gave it total control over children. Because once children belong to the state, parents become tenants, not owners. It incentivized single motherhood with checks so it could own the next generation from birth. It pushed no fault divorce so it could profit from the wreckage. It flooded the workforce with women so it could tax 100% of households instead of 50% and pay every worker less because supply doubled. And you clapped for all of it because you were told it was progress. Now the bill is here and the card got declined. Social Security is insolvent by 2034 at the latest. Medicare is bleeding red ink. State pension funds are underwater. The national debt is $36 trillion and growing $2 trillion a year. The only reason the checks still go out is because the Federal Reserve is printing money like a drunk counterfeiter. And every new dollar printed is a tax on every woman eating $18 avocado toast feels when she checks her bank account. The government that promised to be your husband is about to file for bankruptcy. And it's going to leave you with nothing but a mountain of IOUs and a child support order that's written in Zimbabwean dollars. And when the checks bounce, who do women think is going to fix it? The same men you spent 50 years telling to disappear. The same men you called toxic for wanting to lead, the same men you replaced with government bureaucrats. Those men are gone. They're in their paid off houses, eating steak they grilled themselves, watching the state is broke, and the men you demonized are the only ones with any wealth left. Good luck shaming a man into rebuilding a system he was kicked out of while being told he was the problem the whole time. You're already seeing the preview of what's coming, and cities can't pay police pensions, so crime spikes and women scream for more gun control while refusing to date the men who own the guns that would actually protect them. Public schools are falling apart, so women demand free education, while the tradesmen who could fix the buildings are making $200K a year cash and laughing at the tax rates. Hospitals are laying off nurses, while women with gender studies degrees wonder why their $150K masters doesn't pay as well as plumbing. Every single system women were told would take care of them is collapsing under its own weight, and the men who used to hold it up with overtime and sacrifice are sitting on the sidelines eating popcorn. The state doesn't protect women, it farms them. It farms them for votes, for taxes, for compliance, for data. It tracks their cycles with apps, their spending with digital payments, their location with phones, their thoughts with social media. And the second the farm stops being profitable, the livestock gets culled. Look at Europe right now: fertility below replacement, migrant crime exploding, pensions collapsing, native men opting out, and governments openly discussing importing military age men from the third world to fix the demographics while simultaneously criminalizing native men for wrongthink. That's not protection, that's replacement level tyranny. And women still don't see it. They still think the state is their ally because it uses the right feminist buzzwords while it tightens the noose. Digital ID, online safety bills, CBDZs, carbon tracking, social credit pilots, all sold as protecting women and children. Every time women scream safety, the state gets another chain around their ankle and calls it jewelry. And to hatch a dish on and men watch from our parallel economies and laugh because we already opted out of the matrix that's about to become a digital prison with free tampons. The black pill that almost no woman can swallow is this: the state needs men more than it needs women. Men build, maintain, and defend. Women consume, comply, and vote. When men stop producing, the system dies. When women stop voting, the system just changes the marketing. That's why every collapsing society eventually turns on its women first. Because women are disposable to power once the producers walk away. History rhymes: Rome, Weimar, late stage Soviet Union. Every time men checked out, the state ate the women to stay alive a little longer, then collapsed anyway. That's why you're seeing the "where are the men" panic morphing into open threats. They're floating ideas like bachelor taxes, mandating apps run by the government, conscription for family formation, wealth redistribution to single mothers. They're writing articles about how childless men should be forced to pay for children they didn't create. They're discussing UBI for women only funded by taxing male gamers. They're trying every desperation play in the book because they know the golden goose just walked off the farm and started his own coop where the farmer can't get in. And it won't work. You can't tax men who move to cash businesses, crypto, and barter economies. You can't conscript men who already left the country or went ghost. You can't shame men who don't consume mainstream media and don't care about social status anymore. You can't force men who discovered peace to trade it for chaos just because the system is collapsing. The leverage is gone. The fear is gone. The desperation is gone. All that's left is indifference, and indifference laughs at laws. The state promised women a husband that would never leave, never cheat, never hit, never demand sex, and always pay. And for a while, the trick worked. But a husband made of borrowed money eventually runs out of credit. And when the repo man shows up, he doesn't care how many TikToks you make about being a queen. He takes the house, the car, the retirement account, and leaves you holding an empty ring box and a stack of EBT cards that don't work when the power grid goes down. Men saw this coming decades ago. That's why we walked. We saw the debt curve. We saw the fertility curve. We saw the divorce industry. We saw the cultural hatred. We saw the writing on the wall that said, work until you die to fund a system that hates you. And instead of begging to be let back into the plantation, we burned the plantation down and built our own off grid homesteads where the tax man can't find us and the drama can't follow. Women are about to learn that the state is the worst husband imaginable, jealous, controlling, broke, and violent when challenged. And when the divorce finally comes, there won't be any alimony because there's no money left. There will just be regret, and regret doesn't pay rent. So when the EBT cards stop working, when the 401k becomes a 101k, when the free healthcare waits 6 months for an appointment, when the safe cities become no-go zones, when the power grid flickers, because the men who used to maintain it are now maintaining their own solar setups in the mountains. Remember who told you this was coming? Remember who warned you that trading men for the state was the worst deal in human history. Remember that every time you said, I don't need a man heard you and adjusted his life accordingly. The state isn't coming to save you. The state is coming to own you. And the men you spent your life telling to disappear are the only ones who ever could have stopped it. And we're not coming back. We're too busy living. Let's talk about the one thing that still makes women think they have leverage left. The belief that men will eventually get desperate for intimacy and come crawling back. They keep telling each other in group chats and on podcasts, just wait. Men can't live without sex. They'll get lonely. Biology will win. They'll fold. They're banking on the idea that male desire is an unstoppable force, like gravity, like death, like taxes. They think that if they just hold out long enough, the same men who are currently ignoring their DMs, canceling dates, and building home gyms will suddenly wake up at 3 a.m. with an ache that only a modern Western woman can fix. They are wrong, dead wrong. And the proof is in the numbers that nobody wants to talk about. Male sexual activity has been in free fall for over a decade. In 2008, 10% of men under 30 reported no sexual partner in the past year. By 2023, that number was 28%. That's almost triple in 15 years. And the trend is accelerating. Young men are not just having less sex, they're having none at all. And the majority of them report being perfectly fine with it. They're not crying about it. They're not begging. They're not paying for OnlyFans subscriptions in droves. The data shows those are collapsing too. They're playing Elden Ring, lifting weights, and sleeping 9 hours a night. Why? Because the cost-benefit equation changed overnight. And 10 years ago, the average man had to choose between loneliness and chaos. Loneliness sucked, so he picked chaos and called it a relationship. Today, the average man has a third option: peace. And peace plus occasional self-service beats chaos plus conditional affection every single time. Once you remove the social pressure, once you remove the shame programming that said real men get women, once you remove the fear of missing out that was manufactured by Instagram, highlight reels, the decision becomes easy. You keep the peace, you keep your money, you keep your sanity, and you handle your own biology the same way men have handled it for thousands of years before dating apps existed. Privately, efficiently, and without drama. Women never understood that male sexuality isn't the same as male desperation. Sex is abundant. Peace is rare. You can get sex on every corner of the internet in 4K for $9.99 a month, or free if you know where to look. You can get sex from a passport trip twice a year for the price of one fancy dinner in a Western city. You can get sex from a robot in 10 years that doesn't talk back, doesn't have an attitude, and doesn't want half your assets. What you can't get from any of those sources is peace. And peace is the one thing modern women refuse to offer. So men chose the option that gives them peace every single time. The coping from women on this topic is Olympic level mental gymnastics. As they say, you're just watching corn and it's ruining you. No, queen, we're watching corn because the real thing comes with a 50% chance of divorce rape, false accusations, and 18 years of child support for a kid that might not even be mine. Corn doesn't call the cops when it's in a bad mood. They say, you'll die alone. Better alone than in a house full of contempt. They say sex dolls and AI girlfriends are pathetic. Cool story, still cheaper than one birthday gift for a girlfriend who leaves anyway. They say men need touch. Yes, and men are getting it from $80 massages in Thailand instead of $800 dates in Los Angeles that end with, I'm not ready for anything physical yet. The passport bro phenomenon isn't about running from strong women, it's about running towards sanity. It's about discovering that for the price of one overpriced cocktail in Miami, you can fly to Medellin and have a beautiful 24-year-old cook you dinner, laugh at your jokes, and look at you like you hung the moon. And when you come home, you realize the juice back in the West isn't even juice anymore. It's spoiled milk with a $22 price tag and an attitude. And here's the part that keeps women up at night. Men aren't angry about this new reality. We're grateful. If you wake up every day thankful that we don't have to deal with the games, the tests, the silent treatment, the social media surveillance, the where are you texts at 11 p.m., the weaponized intimacy, the performance anxiety of having to keep a woman entertained 24/7 just to earn scraps of affection. We're thankful we don't have to pretend to care about astrology or Taylor Swift or whatever new trend is designed to filter out masculine men. We're thankful our bank accounts go up instead of down. We're thankful our phones are quiet. We're thankful we can eat what we want, watch what we want, lift when we want, and sleep diagonally across the bed if we feel like it. Women expected men to riot when we walked away. They expected protests, manifestos, violence, incel shootings, and something loud and dramatic that would justify calling us terrorists. Instead, we just left quietly, politely, permanently. We didn't burn the plantation down. We just stopped working on it, and the crops died. And now they're screaming at the crops for not growing while refusing to look at the empty fields where the farmers used to be. The intimacy leverage myth is dying faster than Blockbuster. OnlyFans is down 40% in revenue year over year because men realized they were paying premium prices for recycled Instagram content from women they would never meet. Escort prices in major cities are collapsing because supply is flooding the market as women panic and demand collapses as men discover peace is better than paid intimacy. Dating apps are ghost towns on the male side. Nightclubs are closing. Strip clubs are becoming Airbnb rentals. The entire intimacy economy that was built on male desperation is imploding because the desperation evaporated. And women still don't get it. They keep posting, if men want sex so bad, why aren't they dating? As if the answer isn't staring them in the face. Because we found better options. Because we realized sex isn't rare. Pieces. Because we realized the version of intimacy on offer in the West comes with so many strings, it looks like a puppet show. Because we realized conditional affection isn't affection, it's a transaction. And we decided to stop being marks. The future isn't sexless dystopia. It's selective paradise. Men will still have sex. Men will still have intimacy. Men will still have children for the ones who want them, just not with entitled, overpriced, chaotic Western women who think their presence is a prize. Men are getting those things from women who still value masculinity, who still cook, who still smile, who still understand that relationships are partnerships, not extortion rackets. Or men are opting out entirely and discovering that a life without female drama is so good that occasional loneliness feels like a small price to pay for permanent peace. Women are learning that male desire isn't a leash you can yank whenever you want attention. It's a river, and when you poison the river upstream, the water downstream dries up. You spent 50 years poisoning the river with contempt, entitlement, and extraction, and now you're standing at the dry riverbed screaming at the clouds for rain. The clouds moved to another continent, so keep waiting for men to fold. We keep getting richer, and you keep waiting for biology to force our hand. We keep getting stronger. You keep waiting for loneliness to break us. We keep getting happier. The soft guy era isn't celibacy. It's standards so high The current market can't meet them. It's abundance through subtraction. It's choosing peace over passion every single time and discovering that peace feels better than any orgasm you've ever had in your life. And the craziest part, we're not even mad. We're grateful. We're living better lives than any generation of men in history, not because we conquered women, but because we finally stopped letting them conquer us. So post your thirst traps, run your scams, cry on TikTok, cope, seethe, and bargain all you want. We'll be over here living like retired millionaires on tradesman salaries, sleeping 8 hours a night, eating ribeyes we grilled ourselves, and laughing at the fact that we ever thought we needed you to be happy. We don't? Let's talk about the collapse of female friendship, because this is the silent earthquake that's swallowing the last support beams women thought they had. For decades, women were sold the ultimate coat package. Who needs a man when you have your girls? They built entire identities around brunch crews, group chats with 47 women's trips to Tulum, wine nights where they trashed men for 6 hours straight, group chats with 8,000 unread messages of memes and gossip. They tattooed sisters before misters on their ribs and ride or die on their wrist, and genuinely believed that a rotating cast of chaotic, broke, over therapized, chronically online cat moms would be there to catch them when the boss babe fantasy finally imploded. And now in 2025, female friendship is collapsing faster than the Roman Empire after the last legion walked home. You see it everywhere once you know what to look for. The girls' trips that used to have 20 women in the villa now have 6, and 4 of them are fighting over who didn't Venmo their share fast enough. The group chats that used to blow up 400 times a day are down to happy birthday once a year and radio silence the other 364. The wine nights turned into solo wine in bed with Netflix nights because nobody wants to listen to another 6-hour monologue about how all men are trash from the same girl who's been sleeping with a married guy for 3 years. The ride or die crew scattered the second someone actually needed a ride to chemo or help moving or $500 until payday. Why? Because female friendship in the modern era was never real friendship. It was a mutual validation echo chamber built on shared resentment of men and shared coping mechanisms for bad decisions. It worked as long as every member was at the same stage of delusion, single, childless, debt fueled, chasing the same Instagram lifestyle, posting the same living my best life lies. The second one of them breaks rank, gets married, has a baby, gets her finances together, moves to the suburbs, stops drinking, starts going to church, whatever. The claws come out and the cannibalism begins. The pattern is so predictable, it's practically a script. Woman A announces she's engaged or pregnant or bought a house with her man. Women B through F immediately go into competition mode. Subtle shade about how she's changing. Passive aggressive stories about pick-me's. Private group chats dissecting how she thinks she's better now. Within 6 months, Woman A is quietly removed from the big group chat, and the remaining 5 pretend they're still sisters while secretly hating each other's guts. Repeat until the circle is down to 2 bitter cat ladies who only talk on birthdays to post the frog emoji under each other's photos. Female friendship today is like a pyramid scheme where the product is emotional validation and the currency is shared misery. The second one person stops being miserable, the whole structure collapses. And right now, millions of women are watching their pyramid schemes implode because the only thing that was keeping them together was collective denial about how badly they screwed up their lives chasing feminism. Men always knew this day would come. We watched from the sidelines while women built their independent woman friend groups, and we quietly said to each other, just wait until the money gets tightened and the babies don't come and the wall hits. Those friendships are going to eat themselves alive. And here we are. The cannibalism phase has begun. Women are turning on each other with a ferocity that makes divorce court look like a tea party, because when the common enemy, men, disappears, the only resource left to extract validation from is other women. And women are ruthless when the mask comes off. You're seeing it play out in real time on social media. The strong, independent woman content creators who built million-follower empires screaming, "I don't need no man," are now quietly deleting videos, getting filler to hide the stress aging, and posting cryptic quotes about toxic female friendships. The trad thought influencers who made bank selling submit to your husband courses are getting exposed for cheating with the pool boy. The boss babe mastermind groups are imploding over who stole whose course material. The divorce parties are turning into actual parties because the divorce rate for female friend marriages is apparently 100% when the money runs low. And the loneliness statistics for women are going parabolic. Women aged 25, 40 now, report higher rates of loneliness than men in every Western country on earth. They have more friends than ever on Instagram, but fewer real friends than any generation in history. They have 800 people in their phone contacts and nobody to call when the car breaks down at midnight. They have group chats that light up like Christmas trees and nobody who will help them move a couch. They have chosen family slogans tattooed on their forearms, an actual family they haven't spoken to in 5 years because female friendship in the girl boss era was never about loyalty. It was about proximity to shared coping. It was about having a live studio audience for your victimhood performance. It was about surrounding yourself with other women who would never call you out on your bad decisions because they were making the same ones. The second the coping stops working, the friendship dies. And the coping stopped working the day men walked away and stopped subsidizing the lifestyle that made the coping possible. Men don't have this problem because male friendship was always built on utility and loyalty, not validation and vibes. Men have friends they haven't spoken to in 10 years who would still show up with a truck and a shovel if we called at 3 a.m. Men have friends we roast mercilessly who would still take a bullet for us. Men have friends we only see once a year at the lake house who would spot us $10K, no questions asked. Male friendship survives distance, silence, life changes, politics, everything. Because male friendship isn't a feeling support group, it's a brotherhood built on shared struggle and mutual respect. And right now, that brotherhood is stronger than it's ever been because we finally have something real to bond over: freedom from female chaos. Women are discovering that sisters before misters only works when there are misters around to pay for the sisterhood. When the misters walk away, the sisters start eating each other. And they're doing it with knives out, no survivor style. You're seeing grown women in their 30s making TikToks crying because their best friend of 15 years ghosted them after they announced their pregnancy. You're seeing 28-year-olds realizing their entire friend group talks badly about them behind their back because they dared to get a boyfriend who told them to delete Instagram. You're seeing 35-year-olds with no children realizing their ride or die crew is actually a circular firing squad waiting for the first one to show weakness so they can pounce. The female loneliness epidemic isn't just about men walking away. It's about women discovering that the replacement they were sold, female friendship, was a counterfeit all along. It was a house of cards built on shared delusion. And the wind just picked up. Men always knew real friendship looks like showing up with a truck when your boy's wife leaves him, not posting a black square on Instagram and calling it support. Real friendship looks like spotting your brother at the gym when he's going for a PR, not liking his ex's stories to start drama. Real friendship looks like a text that says, "You good?" once every 6 months and still meaning it. We kept that. Women lost it chasing the lie that they could replace deep bonds with surface level brunch validation. And now the bill is due. Women in their late 30s and 40s are looking around at empty apartments, empty wombs, empty calendars, and realizing the girls they sacrificed family, fertility, and finances for were never actually friends. They were just fellow inmates in the same prison who scattered the second the bars opened. And the prison was one they built themselves with slogans like "men are trash" And I don't need anyone. Men are watching this happen and we're not gloating. We're just done warning you. We told you this would happen. We told you female nature unchecked turns into cannibalism. We told you that trashing men together doesn't build real bonds. We told you that loyalty can't be faked with wine and brunch. You called us misogynists for pointing it out. Now you're living it, and we're living better because we kept the one thing women threw away: real brotherhood. The female friendship collapse is the final domino. When men walked away, women still thought they had each other. Now they're discovering they don't even have that. And when the last fake friend ghosts over a pregnancy announcement or a Venmo request, the only thing left is the mirror, and the mirror doesn't lie. So keep posting your "my peace is my priority" quotes while secretly crying in the group chat that doesn't answer anymore. Keep pretending your plants and your cats are your babies. Keep telling yourselves the sisterhood is strong while watching it devour itself from the inside. We'll keep building brotherhoods that last lifetimes, lifting each other up, making each other richer, keeping each other sharp, and living lives so full of real connection that your fake one looks like the joke it always was. The soft guy era isn't just men walking away from women, it's men walking toward each other. And that bond is unbreakable. And now we arrive at the end of the road, the place where the coping runs out of oxygen and the truth stands naked in the daylight with nothing left to hide behind. We've watched the simp economy collapse. We've watched the dating market turn into a ghost town. We've watched restaurants, nightclubs, jewelry stores, and wedding venues board up windows. We've watched the state that promised to replace men cough up blood and collapse on the floor. We've watched female friendship turn into a circular firing squad. We've watched the wall remain undefeated and fertility statistics laugh in women's faces. We've watched the intimacy leverage myth die quietly in the corner while men discovered peace is better than passion. And through all of it, one question keeps coming up in the comments, in the DMs, in the panicked podcasts, in the tearful car videos. What happens now? Where does this all end? So let me give you the final black pill answer, the one nobody wants to say out loud, but every man already knows in his bones. This doesn't end with men coming back. This doesn't end with women changing. This doesn't end with some grand negotiation where both sides meet in the middle and everybody lives happily ever after. This ends with two separate civilizations rising from the ashes of the one we used to share. One civilization built by men for men, on the principles of peace, brotherhood, competence, wealth, strength, and freedom. The other civilization built by women and the state, on the one that's already collapsing under debt, delusion, infertility, loneliness, and cannibalism. And those two civilizations are never merging again. Men are not coming back to save the old world. We are building a new one. We are the Exodus. We are the ones who looked at the burning Rome, shrugged, and started building a new city on the hill where the fire can't reach us. We took the knowledge, the skills, the wealth, the peace, and we left the drama, the entitlement, the chaos, and the liability behind. We didn't declare war. We declared independence. And independence, once tasted, is never surrendered again. The new male civilization already has its foundations poured. Private brotherhood compounds in every major city, off-grid homesteads, and land funds owned by groups of men who trust each other with their lives. Parallel economies running on crypto, barter, and cash that the state can't tax and women can't access. Private gyms, private poker games, private lake houses, private jet pools, private everything. Passport strategies that let a man live like a king in 5 countries for the price of one overpriced date in Los Angeles. Skills exchanges where men teach each other plumbing, welding, coding, trading, hunting, farming, and every other thing the collapsing system no longer values. A culture of ruthless competence where your word is your bond and weakness is not tolerated but fixed through brotherhood, not shamed through gossip. A code that says peace is non-negotiable, loyalty is everything, and chaos is left at the door, or you don't get through the door. That civilization is growing every single day by the thousands. Every time another man wakes up, deletes the dating apps, cancels the date, pockets the $300, and feels the weight lift off his chest and says, never again, another brick gets laid. Every time another man buys land with his boys, builds a home gym, starts a business, stacks another Bitcoin, books another flight to Colombia, or simply sleeps diagonally across his king size bed without someone nagging him about chores, the new city gets taller. Every time another man looks at his growing bank account, his quiet phone, his full fridge, his jacked physique, and his circle of brothers who would actually die for him, and realizes this is the best his life has ever been, the old world dies a little more. And the beautiful part? We didn't have to fire a single shot. We just stopped feeding the beast. And the beast is starving. The female state civilization, the one that's left behind, is going to look like this: skyrocketing loneliness statistics that keep going up until words lose meaning, birth rates that don't just collapse, they go to zero in entire postcodes. Women in their 40s and 50s with cats, credit card debt, and a freezer full of expired eggs wondering where it all went wrong. A state that becomes more tyrannical every year to squeeze the last drops of blood from the few remaining male producers still trapped in the system. Digital prisons disguised as safety, where every word, purchase, calorie, and thought is tracked and taxed. Cannibalistic female friend groups that shrink to one bitter woman talking to her plants. A culture that eats its young and calls it progress until there are no young left to eat. And the men who walked away will watch it burn from the mountaintop with zero guilt, zero remorse, and zero desire to go back down and save the people who told us to jump off a cliff for 50 years. We're not angry anymore. We're free. That's the part women still can't process. They keep waiting for the anger. They keep waiting for the revenge. They keep waiting for us to lash out so they can point and say, see, we were right about men all along. But the silence is what terrifies them most. The indifference, the quiet thriving, and the way we just moved on. The way we wake up every day, grateful we don't have to deal with the chaos anymore. The way our lives keep getting better while theirs keep getting worse. Not because we're punishing them, but because we stopped letting them punish us. There is no negotiation coming. There is no grand bargain. There is no if women just moment. There is only the new world we're building and the old world you're inheriting. And those worlds are moving apart at the speed of light. So when your tears on TikTok, keep your where are all the good men videos. Keep your men need to man up speeches. Keep your the future is female slogans while the future becomes male only compounds and passport stamps. All right, keep telling yourselves this is just a phase. We'll keep building, keep stacking, keep lifting, keep laughing, keep living better than any generation of men in human history. Because we finally learned the ultimate red pill truth. The most powerful thing a man can do isn't fight the system. It's leave the system. And we did. And we're never, ever coming back. The golden age of simping is over. The soft guy era is here. Men walking away is no longer a movement, it's civilization. It's the new normal. It's the future. And the future belongs to the men who had the courage to walk away from everything they were told they were supposed to want and discovered they were happier without it. So, to every brother still reading this, still watching, still waking up, you won. You actually won. You escaped the plantation. You kept your peace. You kept your peace. You kept your future. And no amount of tears, bargaining, shaming, laws, taxes, or propaganda can ever take that from you again. The war is over. We didn't lose. We seceded. And the new nation. What did you think about everything we just went through in this monster of a video? Do you agree that we're watching two separate civilizations form in real time? Or do you think there's any scenario where men return to the old system? Drop your final thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to know where your head's at. Like the video if this spoke to your soul today. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss a drop. If you really felt this one, share it with every man still asleep out there. Someone needs to hear this tonight. And if you want to protect the wealth you're building right now and learn how to grow it before the collapse finishes, go click the link in the description for Angry's Crypto Academy. We're teaching men how to become financially untouchable in a world that's trying to touch everything. And one last time, brothers, all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. Cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.